if my girl child walked up and said, Mom, I want to shave my head, I would have some questions. Why do you want to shave your head? I would have some explanation. So you know that this is going to happen. People may walk up to you and think that you're a little boy. Are you okay if people call you a little boy when you're a little girl? And she goes, well, yeah, because my hair doesn't make me a boy or a girl. Excellent. Excellent work. That's all I needed to hear. Yeah. Moving on.
Raising a well-behaved child in this world requires strict discipline and punishment. Today, we will look...
No, we will not.
Hello and welcome to Childproof. I'm Tori Phantom.
And I'm Gwenna Lathland. And this is part 2 to Chaotic Good Parenting.
So if you haven't listened to part 1, you should go do that. Or don't. It's not actually necessary.
Right. Like, they're not building on each other. We just weren't done talking about the thing. So we're just going to keep talking about it.
Yeah,
so
we love talking.
It's more decisions that we make that aren't necessarily popular, but work for us and our families, which is honestly most parenting decisions, but whatever.
Yes, exactly. But before we start the timer, can we talk about your hair?
Actually, let's start the timer and then we can talk about my hair.
Fair.
So yeah, I have actually come to believe that whatever process is involved in looking the way you look when you are born, God, fate, karma, genetics, whatever, they got it wrong for me. I am not a blonde, wavy-haired human being. I look weird as a blonde, wavy-haired human being. I look fantastic as a deep brunette curl girl.
You do. So if you are watching us, you can see Gwenna's hair. It is beautiful. And the reason I didn't know that is because we just logged on and
I did this like last night.
Yeah, I love it. I did my hair, but I honestly loved what I did with my hair last time. So you
did a repeat?
That's new. That's the shocking thing is that me doing the same hair is the new
twice.
Thing. Yeah.
So if you've been a long time fan of Tori and or I, you'll know that for a very long time, both of us have had extreme colored hair, even though I don't right now. And I actually haven't had for a long time. But I personally, I fully admit, and I didn't know I was doing this at first, I fully admit I was using the piercings and the hair as sort of distraction armor.
I think I know what you mean, but please elaborate.
So for me, what it was is I am fat and I haven't always been super comfortable with the size, shape, and amount of space my body requires. And so what I would do is a long time ago, someone said, if you can beat them to the punchline, you're no longer their joke. And I internalized that deeply. A little bit for the good, a little bit for the bad. And so what would happen is, okay, I don't want you to pay attention to my legging wrapped cellulite. So instead, focus on the neon green hair. Hate me for the neon green hair. I don't want you to notice that I've got bat wings underneath my arms. So bitch about the metal in my face. If you are going to perceive me, I want to control that perception. I want to be able to prepare how you're going to launch at me if you decide my appearance is unacceptable. Let's focus on the things, and that includes I went through a stage where I was wearing like very, I don't want to say raunchy, that's the wrong word, but the clothes I was wearing was meant to gain your attention and keep it from focusing on how large my ass is.
You do have like a Pixar mom butt.
I do. I really do. And I'm okay with that now. I think
it's a good thing. Yeah.
But
I need to just clarify that wasn't an insult. That was a compliment. Like Gwenna knew that, but all of our listeners, I need to clarify that was a compliment.
No, I've got a Pixar mom butt and I'm cool with it. But if you told me that 3 or 4 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, I'm not super sure when this shift started happening. But if you told me that a while ago, I'd have been like, you think my butt is big? I'm sorry. Oh. I would have apologized for it for some reason.
Yeah. You know, what's funny to me is as you're explaining all of this, I realize that my experience has been the equal opposite.
Yeah.
Because I too have always really kind of felt uncomfortable with who I am, how I am. And so for the longest time, my goal was to blend in. And so I had incredibly long, naturally colored hair for me. And I dressed in a way to try to look like a mom, or what I thought, a mom was supposed to be. And part of that for me,
You looked at the stereotype and went, I can look at that.
yeah. And I was miserable. But a part of it for me too was that I was a teen mom. And so I was always significantly younger than the other parents in the places I was going with my eldest. And I wanted to not seem incompetent because when you are such a young parent, like there is kind of this doubt in your abilities. There's this stigma attached to it. And so I thought if I could look a certain way, then people would take me more seriously or not doubt my abilities in parenting.
Right.
And like, what a waste of time it is to be so focused on how other people are perceiving us. And so I think I was like 27 and I chopped off like over 2 feet of hair. Like my hair was so short and I did it all at once. And I was like, I'm going to figure out who I am. And so now I have the wildly colored hair and all the tattoos and the metal in my face because I want, like, that makes me feel good in the way I'm expressing myself.
Yeah.
And I think it's so funny how we kind of passed each other on the way.
Right. Like we were traveling in opposite directions there for a while. We briefly encountered and now we've diverged again.
Yeah.
Now I need to be said, I am still very likely to at some point dye my hair a wild color again because I still like the look. I still like the aesthetic. I took all my facial piercings out, not because I was ashamed of them or because I didn't need them, but high key, they were annoying as fuck.
Yeah, no, I get that.
They were annoying as fuck to care for, and I no
my
longer
nose
have
rings,
the capacity.
They pop open all the time, and if I don't have a mirror, I just sit there and I look like I'm picking my nose to try to close it.
Yeah. I live in Oklahoma and am afflicted by allergies, so we have now entered the time of year, which you'll hear throughout the podcast.
I do my best to edit them out if it's like during a silent moment.
Right.
So just know there was even more sniffing.
There was way more sniffing. But like when you turn into a snot faucet every single spring, nasal piercings are not for you. Septum piercings are miserable when you have to blow your nose every 32 seconds. I was not a fan, so I took them out.
Yeah, that's valid. That's valid. I think it's kind of one of the coolest things though is like being adults and recognizing these phases we went through, because I think so often when kids are going through phases, it's like minimized as this like really childish thing of like, oh, it's just a phase, they're gonna grow out of it. And like some of it, yeah, especially when we're talking about like toddlers and that kind of thing. But like during that exploration time, like when you realize it's kind of the coolest thing if you have younger kids and you're listening, when your kid reaches kind of that adolescence, that preteen age, and suddenly they are no longer your baby, they are their own person. And it's so cool, but they have to figure themselves out. And it's like you watch the phases happen, and it's I like to celebrate it, to like watch my kid like figure themselves out. And I just have always detested this idea of, oh, it's just a phase. Our life is a series of phases.
I'm 40 years old and I just exited for the third or fourth time my crazy hair color phase.
Yeah.
And I will likely re-enter it at some point and stay there for a while and then exit it again. I went through a stage where I was getting a ton of tattoos, and now I still want more tattoos. I love my tattoos, but I keep prioritizing other ways to spend my money.
Yeah.
Other ways to get the dopamine and the serotonin. Will I get more tattoos? Absolutely. But I'm not in that rapid add all the ink.
Yeah.
I'm just not there, because that phase is past. I will likely re-enter it. And that's the other thing that I hate about this idea of, oh, it's just a phase. It sounds like there's an entrance and an exit. It's more like a highway. There's several on-ramps and several opportunities to get off.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, is that sometimes these phases, we have them and then we're like, no, that's not for me. And then we're done. And then some things, they cycle.
Yeah.
And I kind of love that about it. It's like there's like now a nostalgia factor when I'm listening to Rent for the 7 millionth time.
Yeah. Yeah. We're watching, and here's the thing is there's also opportunities to teach our kids how to do this. My husband and I are watching the sitcom Frasier for like the 900th time between us. It's a comfort show for us. We really like the show. We've always found it funny. Even though we know all the gags, we look forward to these particular episodes because it's got a really funny part. It still makes us like belly laugh. And now we're redoing it because our kids were like, we want to watch this thing about this. Have I got a show for you? And so now we've re-entered a Frasier era or a Frasier phase. And then we're probably going to rewatch The Office because our youngest children are old enough to start understanding some of the humor. Do they understand all the highbrow jokes? No.
Yeah.
But they understand that Niles is really funny when he falls over, and they like that.
Yeah. No, I love that too, because I feel like, you know, to go to the actual topic we meant to talk about today, I think that when it comes to things like sitcoms, TV, and media, I think that there is kind of a controversy there. Like I feel like we might be kind of unpopular in the way that we handle our kids with media. I'm watching Superstore with my 8-year-old, which is an incredibly hilarious sitcom, but there are themes in it that are definitely more adult. And so it's prompted a lot of conversations. And I feel like it is appropriate to watch with me because that's kind of, you know, it's that PG thing. It's like, I am with you. You can't watch the show alone because there's probably going to be some stuff that doesn't make sense. And maybe it's a little adult for you. But when I'm watching with you, I have the discernment to be like, maybe we don't watch this episode.
Right. We, both my daughters and I are currently rewatching Supernatural just every once in a while. For my 17-year-old, almost 18-year-old, light work, no issue. My 6-year-old, though, my mom was even like, Supernatural, isn't that like a horror show? I was like, it's a horror show, but it's by the CW. So, I mean, we're not talking extremely gruesome, but yeah, there's a lot of death. There's a lot of violent death. There's violence against women. There's violence against children. And it's not even always like evil imagination monsters that are doing all these bad things. Sometimes it's people just being bad people in this show. My mom was like, should the girl child be watching Supernatural at age 6? I was like, with us, yeah. And we've had a lot of really good conversations of, why did Dean get so mad? Yeah, because that guy hit a little kid. Yeah. And it's
we are insufferable to watch TV with, apparently, because I do the same thing. I just stay pausing it to provide context.
Yeah.
Like Jim won't watch stuff with me because I just pause it. He'll talk over it. I can't
very
stand.
well. Jack lets me pause and pauses half the time himself.
Yeah, no, Jim will just talk over it, and I'm like, no, we have to pause it to have this conversation. I don't want to miss it.
Right. There might be more things we have to conversate about.
Yes. Yeah.
So we don't necessarily censor a lot of TV. Some of them are watch with me. Now, that being said, are there shows that my kids don't get to watch right now? For my 17-year-old, no, absolutely nothing is off the table. Watch whatever you want. And if you have questions, come ask me. If you want me to watch it with you because you feel like maybe this might be a little scary or hard to cope with or confusing, yeah, let's have a movie night. We'll watch whatever you want to watch, with the exception of horror movies. That's a boundary for me.
Yeah.
I'll watch horror shows, but horror movies always cross lines for me. So what I did is I found my daughter another friend who loves horror movies.
Yeah.
If you want to watch a horror movie, you get to a scary part, you get to a part that's too much to handle and you need to discuss, that person. Yeah. Go talk to that person. That is a trusted adult in your life. It takes a village to parent.
And well, here's the thing too. I also don't censor much, but what I've always done is if my kids see something, because you know, like with the streaming and stuff, they'll show the previews when you enter the apps and whatever, or there's ads, you know, and they see stuff and that looks interesting. And some of it, it's, oh, that might be interesting for you. And some of it is, I see why you're interested, and here's why I don't think that it would be a good idea for you. Let's discuss it. So kind of like leading the horse to water, like, maybe this isn't a good idea for you. And one of the things that I've like always told my kids, especially when it comes to the scary stuff, right? protect your peace.
Mm-hmm.
When you see some things, it's going to stick in your mind
Mm-hmm.
and you can't unsee it. And what I've noticed is by having these constant conversations with my kids is one day my kid was talking about watching something and I was like, it was kind of on the line. Like my middleest kiddo, I was like, it's kind of on the line, but I feel like if you are ready, then, if you feel like you're ready, we've had the conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And so she sits down and she's thinking about it and she goes, Mom, I changed my mind because I actually think this might be really hard for me. I think it might be too scary and I don't want to scare myself too much. So I think I'll wait. And it's like, that's why we have these conversations, because just censoring completely, it takes away that critical thinking practice of, is this a good idea for me?
Right. Well, the other thing that the constant conversation that I've been having with my 6-year-olds that I used to have with my eldest is, hey, buddy, when we turned on YouTube, a big giant monster jumped out. Was that a real thing or was that a made up thing?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was a made up thing. Right. So it's scary. It's made up to look scary and it jumped out at us and it made us jump. Was it kind of funny when she realized that was just a scary picture? Yeah, that was kind of funny. So I'm walking them through the process. First of all, we determine, was that fact or fiction?
Right.
Second, we determine the response we had to something looking like it was jumping out of the screen at us. That's normal. Now let's also focus on those good adrenaline, come down feelings that we get when we get the oxytocin, when our system realizes, oh, no, we're safe. Nothing actually jumped out at us. It just convinced us for a sec. So am I a huge fan when we turn on Netflix and like a rather graphic picture of a monster pops up? No, not a huge fan.
No.
Netflix fucking stop doing that.
And especially when it plays the trailer with it.
Yeah.
And it's like, can I have 5 seconds to scroll?
Right. Like, give me a hot sec. Damn, I didn't even want to see that. Jesus. So Netflix, stop doing that. But also, I know I can't control a multi-billion dollar corporation from fucking cutting that shit out. So what I have to do is adjust my parenting strategy of, hey, that's a scary looking monster. Is it real? Yeah. No, it's fake. Or that's a scary looking thing. That is actually real. That's a squid. That looks crazy. Let's look up squids.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that can be tricky too, is when your kid is afraid of something, is finding that line of, are we going to use this to build resilience or are we going to opt out of engaging with this at all?
Right.
And
there are times when both are valid answers.
yes, that was, I think one of the funniest things is last year, Jim shaved his beard off. Now I've only seen him without a beard twice in 10 years.
Yeah.
And he is a huge fan of this band, Seven Dust. And he got this tour t-shirt, and the lead singer, LJ, it's kind of this illustrated scary version of his face kind of screaming. It's like this huge graphic on the shirt. Now he's worn the shirt for so long, but because he had this huge long beard, you couldn't see the image as much. And then he shaved the beard. And my littlest lady was like freaked out by this kind of scary zombie looking face and was like, Daddy, I don't like your shirt. And so we were like, maybe we put that shirt away until you get some more beard back. And because it's this kind of freaky image of like, it's a zombie looking face. And because of her age specifically, if you're an older kid, it's easier to, we don't need to, or we can learn to deal with this because it is just this graphic image. But when you're 5 years old, and you want to go hug dad, but you can't hug dad because the shirt is scary.
The shirt is scary. Is the shirt going to bite me? Like, yes. And I think there are times that we as adults tend to forget when we're looking at our kids. Not all kids have the same level of being able to separate imagination from reality. That's actually a developmental milestone that kids hit at wildly different ages. The ability to look at something and go, that is made up and that is real. And this is somewhere in the middle where it's based on something real, but there's like a lot of imagination going on behind it. so it's not going to function like that. That's a learned skill and a developmental milestone when they can separate imagination from reality.
Yeah, and even so, when we're talking about the real versus imaginary, as adults, I mean, even you who doesn't like scary movies, it doesn't matter that it's imaginary all the time, because some things we're just sensitive to, some things are just upsetting to engage with, and we all have different levels of sensitivity with it.
Right.
Yeah.
I already know, especially that my 6-year-old is watching Supernatural with us. She and my oldest will be horror buddies. I won't have to find another responsible adult for my youngest, because when she wants to watch something, well, call Abby.
Yeah, that is there's your
call
responsible
Abby.
adult.
That's a responsible adult in your life. Call your older sister and have a little horror movie marathon, because I don't like them. They're squidgy to me. Can I sit through them? Yes. Is it like a traumatizing point for me? No. Will I enjoy it? No. I have enough anxiety. I don't need my entertainment to add some to me. Now, what is your take, though, on books?
No censoring books. I support reading to read. Now, it's much like TV and movies, where we're going to discuss. If I see my kid grabbing something off the shelf that might be a little bit more strongly themed. I mean, with my middle schooler, I'm kind of like, read what you want, dude. Yeah. If you have questions, if you want to have conversations, let's do that. And I do provide context, especially if they're going to my bookshelf, because I have 4 bookshelves in the house, and I have some of my favorite books from when I was in high school still.
Yeah.
And so those are in that young adult category, but some of them are much more stronger themes, and they are more serious. And so it's, okay, well, this is what this book is about, so be aware of what you're going to engage with. With the littler ones, it's like they're still reading early chapter books, so it's a much easier thing to navigate. But no, I don't censor books, especially because I feel like there's so much that we can gain from them. And though one day my middleest went to my bookshelf and grabbed off my Shakespeare books. I have a collection of Shakespeare, and she grabs this Shakespeare because she liked it, looked cool to her, and she goes, "Can I read this?" And I said, "You can try." And she's like, "What do you mean?" And so she opens Shakespeare and is looking through it, and it's like, "What?" Because she knew they're all words. She can read it, but it's not making sense. And I was like, that's why I said you can try. So then we had a conversation about Old English.
Yeah. I also do not censor books in any way, shape, or form. After we get through reading level stuff, if I can still identify you've got a type of book, if this is a CVC, V word book, we're not at a point where we can, begin discussing, Mom, I'd like to read A Court of Thorns and Roses. No, you're not. We're not. No. And that's not so much a censorship. That's more of a practical readiness level. Not only are there themes in A Court of Thorns and Roses that are incredibly heady for small children, you just don't have the reading level on yet to try that one yet. We're not there yet. We got to practice more before we get there.
And I think that's the thing with books, is that especially when we're talking about young kids, the things that they're going to want to read, we don't really have to worry about them getting to that type of book. But
as far as even with my teenager, who is old enough to vote as of this calendar year.
That's wild.
I know. Even with my teenager, I know, because I have a good relationship with her, what her thresholds are. So I was reading Fourth Wing, and she was like, a bunch of my friends have read Fourth Wing, and I hear you talk about Fourth Wing, and I hear you talk about Fourth Wing with your friends.
I have to interject on the Fourth Wing thing. Okay, Gwenna and I are in a group chat with some of our other friends, and they are all reading this book. I haven't read it, and I feel so left out. So sometimes I'll just say something random just to feel included in their Fourth Wing conversations. So I don't even know about this book. So on our podcast, I'm going to feel left out of this conversation. I'm kidding.
Tori. Anyway, so my eldest was like, I think maybe I want to read Fourth Wing. And I was like, you're absolutely welcome to read Fourth Wing, but I can guarantee you will not like it. Would you like to read it for the story? Then by all means, but just skip this chapter and this chapter. You won't like those chapters. Because she
Skipping
has
a chapter. That feels wrong.
Well, Fourth Wing is a spicy romance.
I didn't know that. Like, I literally had no idea about this book. So, okay, now that makes sense that you would tell your kid to skip that chapter.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the chapters we're skipping are chapters that primarily focus on the sexual relationship between the two characters. And it's not because I'm trying to censor the sex. It's because I know my oldest daughter is at a point where she would not enjoy reading those things.
Mm-hmm.
It would be...
Yeah.
It wouldn't even be uncomfortable because, oh my God, it's sex. It would be uncomfortable because it's cringy as fuck reading how someone else describes sex.
It is. Oh my God.
And now, that being said, if you absolutely adore reading spicy romance and those scenes really connect with you, I'm not saying that you are wrong. I'm saying that for me and the daughter that came out of me and from me, it sometimes gets super cringe to read sex scenes. Just listening. Y'all, nether lips. I read the word nether lips, not in Fourth Wing.
My jaw is on the floor right now.
So, nether lips. I'm not telling anyone how to write their book, but that maybe is a line too far. I don't care that they've been using it since the Harlequin novels in the 90s.
Oh, okay.
So don't call that nether lips. But that's the sort of stuff that when I talk about, I'm not so much censoring. I'm not saying you can't read Fourth Wing. I'm just saying I know you and I don't think you're going to like Fourth Wing.
Yeah.
She just doesn't like romance. She's more of a crime drama, murder mystery, tense thriller kind. Nothing about the Book of Fourth Wing, despite being really popular, is going to appeal to her. The story, the dragons, much less the spicy romantic scenes. None of it. It's not a book that you'll like, but you can read it. I'm not going to stop you.
Yeah. No, that's my kid is a Warrior Cats kid. We know this. We like Warrior Cats. We kind of left the phase, which was interesting. I didn't foresee that happening because Warrior Cats fans are Warrior Cats fans for life.
Right.
I know this to be true. Now we are back in Warrior Cats because a new graphic novel
it's going
came
to
out.
cycle back around. It
came
always
back.
does.
But we, so my kid is in like the honors ELA classes and stuff. They have these big book projects they do per quarter. And last year it was like the same thing. And the one project, my kid didn't read a new book, just picked a book they already read. I was like, bro, like, come on. I'll let it slide this time, but let's read a new book.
All of the Captain Underpants books out of my daughter's room in like middle school because she was told she had to read so many hours. And so I walked in and she was reading one. And I walked in 3 days later and she was reading one. I was like, ma'am, that's the same one. Have you been reading that same book for 3 days? Because that wasn't a timeline that was appropriate for her to be able to read these books at all. She goes, oh, no, I started it again. No, you did not. Go to the library. You can't reread it 3 days after you already read it.
That's like we have comfort shows. My middleest kiddo has comfort books, and it's the Diary of the Wimpy Kids, and then this graphic novel series about the American Revolution. But so I think it's funny we're talking about what we let our kids read, right? Because I was trying to encourage my kid to read new types of books, and I grabbed a book off of my shelf that, with my parent discernment, I was like, this one is not a young adult novel, but I think you'll enjoy it. And it was Hank Green's. And what is the name of that book? It's Absolutely Remarkable Thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I loved that book and I loved the sequel. And so I got my kid, I was like, here, I think you would like this. Right. And so they were really hesitant because anytime I recommend something, we have to hate it first.
Mm-hmm.
So then they get into it, right? And I notice our nose is always in this book. 2 days later, book's finished. And I said, well, how'd you like it? And my kid said, well, how dare you not already have given me the sequel? You know? And then they laughed at me because they were like, also, Mom, I am shocked that you gave me like such a grown-up book. And I was like, wait, was it? And my kid's like, well, there was this huge violence scene at the end and a lot of swear words in it. And I was like, oh, I forgot. I just I loved the story and I knew you would love it. So here's the sequel.
Right. Yeah. I think when it comes down to what we let our kids watch on TV, what we let our kids watch in movies, what we let our kids read, it's not so much if I have told you not yet, I will define within millimeters of precision why we're not here yet.
Yeah.
And what things I think need to happen before we are here yet. I will also say you can read this, but you may encounter these things, which I don't think you'll like very much, or may make you uncomfortable, or you're definitely going to have questions when you get to chapter 47.
Yeah.
Come ask me.
That's my kids said that they didn't believe books could be scary, so I am book clubbing a Stephen King book with them soon.
Nice.
I'm like, you can't really. I'm like, you don't believe it could be scary, but I think we should both read this together because it's going to be scary. But I just Googled the author to talk about this specific book because we're talking about book censorship, right?
Yeah.
I had gotten my kid it's a children's novel, probably like middle school age appropriate. Just recommending this to parents. You might feel like we do. It's called Ban This Book, and it is a story about some kids whose library had to ban books and how they came together to kind of organize to get the books back on the shelves. And it's a really good book. So, and it's called Ban This Book, and it's by Alan Gratz. So, just throw that
we'll
out
leave
there.
a link in the description.
Yeah.
So you can pick up a copy of Ban This Book. All right. So I'm gonna switch back to a topic we left a while ago because the ADHD is strong with these hosts.
Yes.
All right. So we dye our hair. When do you let your kids dye their hair? I know one has technically reached, if you want to. What about the other two? What is the threshold for those?
So my rules with hair dyeing, and it's funny that you say that because my littlest lady, I literally just dumped some Arctic fox dye on her head for Halloween when she was 4 because I'm like, we're not bleaching it, but we can tint your hair with this. Because it went with the costume. I was like, we'll just do this. Your hair will be a different color for 2 weeks. So my rule is actually more about the bleaching. So actual hair color, I am fine. We're not going to do permanent dyes, but there are so many different products that will temporarily add color. Or if you're using, a direct dye like Arctic Fox or Good Dye Young, anything like that, I will put that on your hair without the bleach. We could do the Kool-Aid coloring. We could do all of these things. But the bleach can be damaging, and with their skin being, baby skin, I don't want to risk any reactions with that. So generally speaking, I think that childhood is the best time to have fun and explore.
Yeah, absolutely. Experiment galore. I have very, very similar rules. Every summer we dye my kids' hair with Good Dye Young or any of the dyes that don't require bleach to go on, and that you don't have to do where you combine the two, where you combine the developer with the pigment, because all of those are going to be really heavy. They're going to be stripping. They're going to be, they could hurt scalps. I've chemically burned my own scalp off hair dye before. So my threshold is puberty. You have to hit puberty before I am willing to entertain permanent dye or bleach. And the reason is our hair type and our hair porosity changes along with all of those other things that are changing in our bodies at puberty. So we have to hit puberty because now your hair is probably not going to immediately melt.
Integrity is going to be better.
Right. Yeah. Also, that's around the same point where I can confidently say, when you tell me, Mom, this is hurting, you mean this is hurting and we need to rinse this immediately because our skin's not. A 5-year-old may feel the sort of ooziness of dye and go, oh, it hurts. Well, I can't tell if what you mean is you are experiencing pain and your skin is burning from the chemicals, or if you just find this an odd sensation that you can't describe.
Yeah. For our listeners who have never bleached their hair, there is a sensory experience that comes with it.
It is not uncomfortable. It should not be uncomfortable.
It's
if
like
it gets too uncomfortable.
Cold spicy.
Yes. Or it can also be a warm fuzzy.
Yeah.
So, but like at 5, I don't have confidence that you know the difference between this is not okay, something is happening with my hair that hurts, or this is a weird feeling and I don't know how to describe or process it. we're gonna skip it. My 17-year-old can put toner on her hair. In fact, she did put toner on her hair, and immediately got this fire on her scalp. She goes, Mom, my head is burning. Rinse, 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 rinse.
Yeah. Yeah. And to be clear,
All done. We're not toning your hair. Rinse.
To be clear, we are not shaming anyone who has different rules with their children.
Absolutely not.
If you dye their hair or bleach it younger, that is totally fine. That's your choice and your discernment as a parent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you are the one who understands your kids and their boundaries best. We're just sharing how we do it. And I just want to be clear on that because I don't want anyone to listen to this and think that us, of all people, are like, you can't dye kids' hair.
My bad? No.
Yeah, no, that's, I had to talk to, I kind of made like a announcement to my in-laws specifically because one of my kids, decided at 7 years old to get a side shave and totally chop her hair down to like chin length. And I was like, if you don't like it, we're talking about a 7-year-old and we're going to keep our mouth shut. She's really happy. And that's exactly it. Is I think sometimes as a parent, the unpopular thing we're doing is defending our kids' autonomy.
Right. Yeah, I don't have any rules about how you cut your hair, how you wear your hair, except whatever you do, you have to be capable of taking care of it. No, maybe not solo. Like I still to this day help my daughter put conditioner in her hair because she's 6 and it's a process.
For me, it's the rinsing the conditioner because they don't seem to be able to feel that.
Well, yeah, I put it in and then I stay there and we let it process for a sec and I just sit on the toilet while she washes herself. Yeah. And then I oversee the rinsing as well. At 6, that's a thing that I have to do. But as far as if my girl child walked up and said, Mom, I want to shave my head, I would have some questions. Why do you want to shave your head? I would have some explanation. So you know that this is going to happen. People may walk up to you and think that you're a little boy. Are you okay if people call you a little boy when you're a little girl? And she goes, well, yeah, because my hair doesn't make me a boy or a girl. Excellent. Excellent work. That's all I needed to hear. Yeah. Moving on.
Right. And that's for drastic changes with appearance. I just ask my kids to sit on it for a day.
Yeah.
You know, let's not rush it though. I mean, my eldest kid chopped
try
off.
To ease them into. My daughter had hair like down to the middle of her back. She goes, I want to have a pixie cut like my oldest. I was like, let's just cut it off to your shoulders and see how you feel. We're cool. Let's cut it off to a bob. You're cool? Yeah. Okay, pixie's probably fine. Like, I'll do it in levels.
I think it depends, you know, obviously on the kid, on the situation. Yeah. My eldest had grown their hair out for years, right? Like it was several feet long. And because
I was so incredibly jealous of your eldest child's long hair. I understand that they wanted to cut it, but I was a little bit sad when they chose to cut their hair. Just like a tiny bit.
Yeah, it's funny though, because we had talked about a possible haircut for months, right? It had been months because my kid was kind of, you know, toying with it. And then one day they get in the car, I pick them up from school and they're like, Mom, I want to cut my hair off to my chin. I want like a shaggy pixie. And I said, we'll go as soon as Jim gets home, we will go and get your hair cut, because I knew that this had been considered for months. So the confidence of which I want to chop all of this off immediately. Let's go. We're doing it tonight.
Let's do it.
I'm so excited for you. I know you've been considering it. And their hair's so cool. And now I have to do the upkeep on it. Yeah. And I've never taken longer on a haircut because I will not be messing up a middle schooler's hair. Nope.
That's one of the things. My boy child now has to go to the barber because he likes a particular fade, and neither my husband nor I have the ability to do that fade properly. So we take him to the barber now. The girl child, still cool with the blunt cuts. I can do those at home. Those are not a problem. I can chip in the edges just a little bit so it's not like a straight line. That I can do. But if she's like, I want layers. All right, we're going to the salon because I'm not going to try that.
My kids prefer that I cut all of their hair. The big chop for my eldest, I was like, I'm not doing that. I don't have confidence in my abilities. Yeah. But I do all of their hair. They prefer it. I brought them to a hair place and it went great. And they were like, I just like it when you do it. But trying to cut the bangs of a small child. Why is this taking so long? Because I don't want to poke you in the eye with scissors.
Stay still.
It's so hard for them to sit still. I get it, though.
Speaking of eyes, Obviously, our kids watch us paint our faces with fancy dirt a lot.
Mm-hmm.
What are your rules, boundaries, preferences, and handling of makeup for your children?
I am fine with them wearing makeup. If we are going out, I need to assist them in the application. And besides that, my rule is really just the quality of the makeup has to be good enough that I'd put it on my skin.
Yeah.
That's my rule. The play makeup sets, I wouldn't put that on my skin. So I have enough eyeshadow to share. So.
Yeah. I have 4 levels of makeup. I've already run these and I'm really comfortable with repeating them with the next set of kids. There's what I call the play makeup stage. That is, again, I'm not buying the shitty play makeup. I'm buying regular makeup. Maybe not my high end stuff, but like Revlon, CoverGirl, Wet n Wild. I would be willing to wear this. Is it going to wear very well? No, it's not. But that's not important for this. So we've got the play makeup, and that's really just in the house or in the house and like, let's run to Walmart real quick to pick up a gallon of milk. Let's go to the bank real quick because mommy needs to run an errand. Fine, wear your makeup. I don't care. Going to school? No, we don't get to wear that to school. And then the second level is what I call the skincare makeup, where mom, I want to wear makeup. All right, you're getting old enough. You are mature enough to be able to begin to process that. We've had the discussions of what makeup does to our skin. So to get to the next level, show me that you are routinely putting on your daily sunscreen, putting on your chapstick, and washing your face with the proper amount of soap.
I'm realizing that according to your rules, I'm not allowed to wear makeup.
No. This is all habit training stuff.
Yeah,
There
I
comes
think
a
that's
point where
great.
if you're a grown adult, I don't care.
No, I think that's actually incredible, and I'm gonna steal that just to encourage those behaviors that I don't do with my kids. I'll double standard that. I'm going to sleep with all of this makeup on, and I will wake up with a blue face tomorrow. It's fine.
After that comes basic skills makeup, where now we're going to, here's your green and pink tube of mascara. Here's your mineral powder foundation. Here's your tinted lip gloss. Mm-hmm. Get good at putting these things on. Here's your solid eyeliner. Here's a little bit of blush. And then we just start stacking on. Okay, you're getting pretty good at this part. Let's add a cream foundation now. Oh, you're getting pretty good at this part. All right, we're going to blow the eye colors wide open. I don't care what you put on your eyes. Here's a nice palette of some neutrals. Here's a nice palette of some clown colors. Go ham.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's expressive makeup, and I'm pretty much a hands off until they're like, hey, how do I do the ombre? Well, here's how I do the ombre. Here's 17 other people with 17 other ways on how to do the ombre.
Yeah. It's just,
once we get to expressive makeup, I don't care anymore.
Right. Well, and I think that's the thing, is that the way that I look at makeup, it is just another way to express yourself. Yeah. It's an art form.
Yeah.
And so, with the kids, I haven't had any, I've never had one of my kids want to wear makeup to school. So we haven't had to have that discussion. Yeah. But I
know your children, and you know it's coming.
Absolutely.
You're going to have a Sephora kid, and I know which one it is.
Yeah, we both do. And
I'm also going to have a Sephora kid, to be clear.
Yeah. It's for me, when I was a teenager, I wasn't allowed to wear makeup. All I was allowed was blue eyeliner. I wasn't allowed to wear black eyeliner because it was too adult.
Blue eyeliner.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. I had mentally blocked that period.
And it was like the stick kind too, that, like we would have to with the lighter to soften it enough to use. Yeah. We're showing our age today. But so I wasn't allowed to do it. And so then after, I was out on my own, I felt like I would never learn how to do it. Like, it was like too late for me. And so, to circle back to the beginning of the episode, that was part of kind of my own self-expression and learning myself. Was I learned to do makeup because I'd always wanted to, and I was really sick of telling myself, like, I'm never going to be able to do this. And I've had so much fun doing that. And my kids have asked me to do really cool looks on them. Like, I turned one of my kids full goth makeup because she thought it looked really cool.
Yeah.
And I just want to encourage my kids to feel confident in figuring out who they are, because what I say to my kids is that the way that we express ourselves is like putting on a name tag. Because if every day you had to put on a name tag to tell people who you are, you might pick to write the same name every single day. But one day you might wake up and be like, I'm going to try something new. And you can put on a new name tag. Maybe you wear 2 name tags. We don't know. But the point is that we can pick the way we are going to present ourselves. We are not meeting the expectations of the people around us outside of our values of like kindness, but when we are picking how we look, we need to prioritize our opinion of ourselves over the opinions of other people, because I really think it's impossible to not care what other people think.
Right.
But we can prioritize our own opinions more. And so I encourage that self-expression because I'm excited to get to know who my kids are. They got to figure it out for that to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, the process I have chosen has a lot to do with understanding the full picture. There are choices and there are consequences. I start with, let's just practice putting our sunscreen on every day, putting our lip gloss on every day. Once we have that down, now we've discussed, here's why it's so important to wear sunscreen every day. Here's why it's important to take care of these things. It's not about the perception. The expressive makeup is about the perception of others, the perception of yourself, and the perception of how others see you. But the skincare, and again, when I say I'm going to have a Sephora kid, I'm not going to have a 10-year-old putting Drunken Elephant retinol cream on their face. I'm going to have a 10-year-old putting Neutrogena sunscreen on their face. Yes, I will have a Sephora kid, but I will still be monitoring for your safety and for your health, because that's really important.
That's exactly how I approach it. Is we are doing this together. I will hold your hand and help you, and we'll have conversations because I want you to learn. And that's part of that self-expression is also self-care.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. We have to know. And especially when we're looking at kiddos who want to start makeup really, really young because they watch their older siblings do it. They watch their parents do it. They watch, their favorite creators. They were shown Drag Race very, very young. The expressive makeup is coming. Okay. Yes. It may not stick around, but you can't watch Drag Race and not think, could I do that to myself?
Could I do that? That's so fabulous. That was our timer. All right.
I didn't think we were ending on drag queens, but I guess we are.
I'm happy to be doing that. So
that's perfect. Thanks for listening to the Childproof Podcast. We want to hear from you. Email us at childproofmailpodcast@gmail.com.
And be sure to give us a follow on YouTube at Childproof Podcast. We are hoping to boost our follower count to 10,000, at which point we will be releasing a mega blooper reel from 2 years of us doing this podcast. And I promise every episode has so many because we are bad at talking, despite us choosing to do this thing.
This episode has like 7 glitches alone.
Yes. Yes.
No, we are also still on Spotify, and big news, we will be on video on Spotify very soon. We're not super sure on that timeline because Spotify isn't super transparent about how long it takes to get that program started.
Yes.
But we are coming to Spotify on video. We are still on Apple. We are on all the places you find your favorite platform. If we are not on your favorite platform, if I just told you a lie, please email us with what platform you prefer. We can probably figure out how to get onto that platform. We do still need you to leave us ratings.
Yes.
Those are helpful.
They are helpful. We enjoy reading them. And, again, check us out on YouTube.
I promise we'll stop talking about it constantly. But we will at some point just stop trying to point everybody to the video, but the video is how we pay our bills.
Yes.
So anyway, remember, sometimes our kids are the assholes.
And sometimes it's us.
It is always the fuckers who ban books, though.
Always.